New Thought Media Network proudly presents the High Vibe Hour. The High Vibe Hour, 60 minutes of connections, insights, and conversations to raise your vibe. Join Rev Julie and Rev Skip each week for an exploration of living a high vibe life. Tune in live every Friday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time or anytime during the week on our YouTube channel. The High Vibe Hour, only on New Thought Media Network.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to the High Vibe Hour here at the New Thought Media Network. I'm Reverend Skip Jennings. I am an author, a minister, a speaker, a teacher, a yoga, and I like to say namaste, y'all.
I'm having a minute right now because I'm normally on the other side of you, and I'm like, wait, what?
Wait, we can fix that. Hold on. Let's fix that. There you go. Is that better?
It's like, what happened? Okay, hi, I'm Reverend Julie Moret. I am an inspirational speaker and spiritual teacher at the Agape International Spiritual Center, founded and directed by Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. I love being here.
I did too. You know, it's so much joy hanging out with you. And I was in so much gratitude because we had our meeting before and just how I just feel so comfortable with you. And so I feel so loved and taken care of and nourished by you in such a way that I want to be the same thing for you. And I love creating with you. I'm so grateful that we get to hang out.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So how you been?
I've been good, okay, so you're going to laugh at this, but in my spare time, this week I put in my application for my doctorate program.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah,
Really
yeah, my spare time. And thank goodness is with the Emerson Institute, Theological Institute, which is really online, distance learning, and you do it at your own pace, and it's based on what you've done in your life. And so we just don't pull from the spiritual studies because it's all spiritual of you, but they take in consideration my degree in film and television from NYU to School of the Arts. They take in consideration for all the yoga training I've done, all the Reiki training and the sound bowl healing. And they're inviting me on the wisdom study path to create something new with everything that I'm doing. And so we look at our ageless wisdom, eternal wisdom, and what are we doing new with it? And I came up with this idea. Dr. Ruth, she is the president of our Emerson. I talked to her and I said, I am taking sound healing and I am taking meditation and Reiki, and I'm using as a way of a doorway to begin a dialogue, especially in couples counseling or in a time that people want to open up. Shifting energy. So I'm going to create something new around that and how this can be the opening to every single healing session that we do, every single, coaching that we do. I think I shared with you yesterday, I had this incredible client to come in and she was having some issues and Spirit just said, let's do yoga. And I said, would you be interested in doing some yoga? And our whole coaching time that she was talking about something very much you would think not related to yoga, but what yoga did was opened her up to having these incredible downloads. So our whole session was based in yoga. It was like, I was like, okay, I'm having a new thought. I'm doing something new.
Yeah, that's thrilling. When you shared that with me, the idea of having some kind of therapeutic counseling session in the context of practicing yoga, that's really cool because you were saying like you'd get into a position and ask a question and kind of like hang in the position. And I think that's super deep. I think it's incredible.
So I know that you are very intuitive with your experience of healing people. I would love to work and possibly work with you and kind of bounce things off of you on how to create something that is so unique. How do we do that where it's not your typical counseling session or your therapy session? How do we really have an integrated experience? I'm excited, as you see. I haven't felt this excited about something in a very long time, other than our podcast and our show, but this is great. I love this.
It's really great. It's really exciting. I know you're ready to move on, but I just want to like
Oh,
sink into
no,
it
we
for a
stay
minute
here.
because you hit
Yeah,
something.
please.
You landed
Yeah,
on something and it works really well for you. And I
yeah.
could see you doing one-on-one sessions like that. I can see you doing a group setting like that. And
Mhm.
it reminds me of different yoga practices where you get into a position, you hold it for a really long time and things bubble up, but there's never been the context to do
Yeah.
anything with it. So you've landed on something that I think is really powerful. So yay, yay, yay.
Yay,
And
yay,
here,
yay.
Moma Ree is saying,
Hey!
that's brilliant.
I
Give a big
love
yes, yes.
it.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Oh, what about you? You did something fun last
I
week.
did. And you know what? So I had a corporate job and I was working with a team of about 38, 39 folks. And the biggest takeaway that I got from that experience, it went so well. And people loved it. And what I really want to acknowledge is that there was a period of time in my life, which is the bulk of the time of my life, where I had my life in different categories. So there was
Yeah.
spiritual Julie, there was like corporate neurolinguistic programming Julie, there was like
Mm,
all the different Julies. And I am at a point in my life where I am comfortable being me. So I didn't have to
mm,
have like my corporate persona on. And I felt brave enough to present material. I presented it in a way that it would be palatable to that audience, that was appropriate for that audience. But I was so pleasantly surprised at how well they received the information, how hungry they are for more, and it really was like I walked away thinking, wow, this is such a big achievement to finally get to a place in my life where I'm comfortable being myself with all the different flavors of me, not
yeah.
just serving up what I think people want. That's a big deal.
That is a huge deal. And as you're speaking, I'm being reminded of, and I've shared this on the show before, I love podcasts. So I listen to a Jay Shetty, Mel Robbins, I listen to Stephen Bartlett, and they're all using new thought principles, but yet they're not using the woo-woo language.
Huh?
They're making it where people can really obtain that. How are you finding that language? How, because I want to learn from you. So how are you finding that language where people are able to understand?
Okay, so I actually called it out because at one point I started talking about how we attract at the level of our energetic frequency. And I looked at
Mhm.
their faces and I said, okay, so this is the woo-woo portion of the conference. And and I'll just call it out. I'm a little woo-woo. Some of you are definitely closet woo-woo. And then I backed it up with some science. And I said, Dr. David Hawkins, Power versus Force, he did
Mm,
scientific studies showing that different qualities, fear, doubt, and worry, attract lower, denser frequencies. They have a lower, denser frequency that they vibrate at, and they attract lower, duller experiences. Higher
mm,
frequencies, love, bliss, ecstasy, service attract higher frequency experiences. And so it made sense. Like I still let it make sense, and I do throw in some statistics and some data, and there's lots of data. Time magazine did a whole thing on prayer.
right.
So I throw in some facts for people who are primarily intellectual and want that and feel better with that. I know I do.
Mm, yeah.
um, and I just called it out, and I checked in with them very regularly. Like we would do an exercise and I'm like, okay, how you doing with this? Do we need to pivot? You good? So I just kept checking in, and they were hungry for more.
Mm. I'm going to remind you of a conversation we had. This is almost 15 years ago, and we were just entering in our first class with you. It was public speaker for ministers. And I had just had the opportunity to be Joe Dispenza's escort for one of our conferences, Revelation Conference. And I said to you, these, I can't believe how articulate that Joe is, how he talks about the science. And I just said, I wish one day I'll be able to do that as well. And you said to me, start with one fact that you can speak on. Just do it
Oh,
from one thing. This is what I you don't even remember you saying this,
how
but
smart was that of me?
it was so smart because we would come up to
Yeah,
you. We would talk about our fears about public speaking as a minister. And I said, I would love to be able to bring some facts in. You said, start with one fact. Just start with
yeah,
one. Read up about it where you can speak to it, put in your talk, and maybe you add in another two. Now, Joe, for me, gets really deep into the science, and so does Greg Braden when I hear him talk.
yeah,
And so I need to find my own combination of it. And I've been doing
right.
that though. But I speak about Einstein and his theory of us being able to be instantaneously in rooms with each other. And look what we have right now. I'm in your room instantaneously. And I say,
Right.
yes, this is a study that he talked about us being able to do that.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
Yes.
We've
Yeah, yeah,
got
yeah.
people
So
from all around that are in the room with us. Yes.
absolutely. Ah, well, today, y'all, we're talking about something that's really super important, I think, to the both of us as we're moving into this time of season. We are in holiday season, y'all. We start off with, believe it or not, this is what the holiday season is categorized as. We begin with Halloween, and we don't end until February 14th, Valentine's Day. That's the broad part of the big holiday season. And it has been documented, and this is not a skippyism, but it's been documented that the average American will gain anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds throughout the season. And they use the springtime to work it off to try to get ready for summer body. And me, who I work in a gym for over 20 years and I've seen it happen. And yeah, so I believe that we're setting the intention that we give you some tools where you can stay healthy throughout this holiday season. We said in October, we're going to talk about the body temple and the body alignment. And I'm really excited to have this conversation with you, Reverend Julie.
Me too. This feels to me like friends kind of checking in with each other to see how are we doing right now? How am I
Yeah.
doing right now in the area of my diet, in the area of my fitness, in the area of my, taking care of myself spiritually, emotionally? Like what's the snapshot right now? What's working? And I
Right.
really love to start with that. And then to notice, is there something that, like, what area, and we spoke a lot about this, I want to make it manageable and doable. What are little tweaks I can make to up level the areas I want to up level? And if it's time to release anything,
Hmm.
what might be helpful to release, and how do we do that in a way that it really works?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm really interested in. Kind of like, it feels like just friends, like checking in with each other.
Having a check in.
And yeah,
And
yeah.
the
So
other
I
thing,
think,
too,
if you
Julie,
want to
is
check
that,
in.
well, I was going to say the other thing about that is that I believe, and this is just a belief that I've seen happen. I come out of a very, very spiritual family who have been ministers, music ministers, have worked in the church all their life. And the last thing they take care of is the body temple. And the body is so important. It even says in the
Yes.
Bible, in one of our sacred texts, the Bible, there are many texts. It says, do you not know that your body is the house of the spirit, of the temple? And because I believe that the taking care of this outer body is as important as that inner space as well. I believe it's one and the same.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good point. I've known so many people that were like spiritual geniuses and had horrendous health, and it's
Yeah,
exactly what you're speaking to. So, yeah, so this is an opportunity for us to switch that up and
absolutely.
make taking care of the body part of our spiritual practice,
I
you
love
know?
it. I love it. And I love the fact that I'm going to be very, very transparent with you, 100% transparent with everyone who's listening. I have put on this girth around my waist, which, and I am still building. I still work out, I train, I do all the things I do. And I hit the age of 60, and maybe this is a little bit of more mental breaking through, but I also know that when I got back from Florida, I had not when I left California, went to Florida, my mindful eating was on point. My body was on point. I got to Florida and it was all games off. And coming back from Florida,
Well,
eating
just
the
call
things
that
that
out. Florida
yeah,
was extremely stressful.
It was
So
extremely
stress
stressful.
is a major factor in what went down. So we got to call it out for what it
Absolutely.
is. Mhm.
Absolutely. And there was this part of me, I gave myself permission to deal with the stress with food.
Yeah.
And so I gained, I would say maybe about 10 pounds, but as a older man, it drops right into my waist area. Coming back and wanting to really come back into the mindful eating habits and or mindful eating practices, I should say, it's been a struggle.
Yeah.
It's been a challenge for me, and so I'm still at this place where I will drop a pound, da, 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 and I would get and it helped me to really look at I need to do some more research on where can I improve. There were things that were in my eating practices that can be released, and there were different things that were coming up saying, okay, why don't we do a research around fasting again, or maybe doing a research around more plant-based eating, which slowly and surely the last 3 months I've been really approaching that, which I've seen a shift in my body. But then there's still those moments where I just have not been consistent.
Sure. Was that a question?
No, no, I'm glad because we're having a conversation. We're just having a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking, I think you're speaking what every single one of us thinks, you know?
Mhm.
Like it makes 100% sense. You
Yeah.
were in a new environment. You'd think it'd be super healthy environment because you're in Florida, you're near the beach, all the things,
Mhm.
but you were under a lot of duress. And
Absolutely.
so it's, you nurtured little Skip
Mhm.
by giving yourself, some of the comfort foods, and it makes sense that now that you're trying to switch it back up that it's challenging getting back into all the things. So that's where to remember the things that work for you, whether it's an
Yeah.
accountability buddy.
Yeah.
I have relied heavily on that when I've had different specific goals, just to say, all right, tomorrow I'm getting my 10,000 steps in, or tomorrow I'm going to
Mhm.
stretch,
Mhm.
and then the next day I am more inclined to do it because I told somebody I was going to do it.
Yeah.
So for me, that part works, but I think it makes a ton of sense. And that's why when in a little while we're going to get to SMART goals.
Mhm.
And so we're going to make it like really doable and manageable. So maybe it means picking one thing. Like you've picked some mindful eating practice where you're letting a little more time go before you eat in the mornings, maybe stopping eating a little earlier. And so that's one thing. That's actually a very big thing. But
Right.
but you're also starting at an incremental time slots. I think you're doing like 12 hours, 12 hours, and then you may increase it if that feels right, or 8 and whatever the math is.
And
Um,
yeah, no. Right.
math, math.
Math. Oh, I'm mathing. And a reason why I was saying this is it got me to really thinking in a new way because
Hmm.
I used to call it intermittent fasting. Now I call it my mindful window eating, my window of eating, the time that I get to be mindful and eat. And it's been because fasting always seems a little bit off-putting for me. It's like you're
Uh-huh.
fasting. You're like, it's like you're taking something out of your diet. And I
Yeah.
don't even use the word diet
Limiting yourself.
anymore. You're
Hmm.
limiting yourself. So yeah, and I'm grateful that we can continue to have this conversation on how to really begin to take care of myself in at this stage of my life.
Yeah, and it really is the kind of thing of figuring out what the heck it will take to be able to do it for
Yeah.
21 days straight, so that you get a brand new neural pathway, you get new habits, because once the habits in place,
Mhm.
from experience, it'll be off and running. It's just getting that habit up and running again.
Going, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So, I'd love to do an inventory. Are you cool with if we
Okay,
start with
yeah,
an inventory?
absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, because I really like the idea. We're so good at knowing what we don't like and what's not
Mhm.
working and what we think we're not doing well. I'd like to reverse it and start by noticing what in your life
It's
is
working.
going well. What are you happy with? What are you grateful for? And so to start with diet, like what in diet is working well, that's the first invitation as you're listening to think of like
Yeah.
what's going well. One thing that I've got really great right now is and it was through a lot of trial and error. I'm getting I know the amount of protein I want to get in my body in a day, and
Hmm.
I'm doing much better at doing it a third breakfast, a third lunch, a third dinner. So I'm getting that like consistent protein throughout the day. And so that's been really helpful.
Yep.
The other thing that I'm playing with, and I think you're going to be discussing like portion sizes. One thing that's really working well for me right now is really more and more making sure that half of my plate is like non-starchy greens. That's just what works for me right now. So I can
Hmm.
still have
Hmm.
all the things, but I'm getting like, or non-starchy veggies, I'm getting more veggies because there was a while where I was eating well, but I wasn't getting enough veggies, so I was hungry. And making sure I
Yeah.
help fill myself up with the fiber of veggies is helpful. So, all that to say, we're all different. We're all in different seasons of our lives. And to just take a moment right now as we start and notice what's working well for you. Pick one
Mm.
thing. And there is, like, for as you're listening to this, I know there is one thing at least that you're doing well that feels
Yeah.
good to you. And to call
Yeah.
it out and be grateful for that. And so so I'm really inviting as you're listening, like what's one thing that's going well for you? What's one thing that's going well for you right now?
I would say in my eating is just being mindful that I want to have a life that is filled with nutrition, that's filled with balance. The other thing that's really amazing, I want to say, is I'm very consistent with the movement of the body. Like I taught
Right?
yoga this morning on Insight Timer. I teach yoga every Friday morning, Insight Timer. I also teach spinning tonight. I'm going this afternoon at 3 o'clock at Equinox. I lift weights. I know that this is really working well for me. Um, and another thing that really helps me and really is that just I'm just mindful. I think
Yeah,
that me is a very, very, very important part of what's working for me. What's
great.
working for
Okay.
you? What's working for you?
Yeah, so what's working for me is my plate portions, getting in more of the veggies, getting
Yep.
protein throughout. I also work with apps, so
Mm.
anything where you're plugging in your food so you can track calories if that's something you're interested in. I like to track my steps, so I see how many steps I'm getting in a day. Those kinds of that kind of support helps me stay on track. So that's
Are
the
you
first thing
on
is to
MyFitnessPal? Are you
yeah, yeah,
MyFitnessPal?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's easy. So
Yeah.
that's the first thing is to just check in and see, pick at least one thing that's working well for you. Be grateful for
Mm.
that because gratitude grows.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is notice what area you feel like could really use some improvement. What and I know a lot of people, myself included, are like every area. So so become aware because it's what I notice is if I get overwhelmed with all the change I wanna make, I just go and get like a hot fudge sundae and do nothing. I don't
Right.
actually get a hot fudge sundae right now, but you get my point.
Yeah,
And
I do.
so
I
and
do.
do nothing is really what happens. So maybe, as friends hanging out together,
Right, right,
pick
right,
one thing right now. Like what's one area when there are different points when I feel like I'm totally off and I go back to, okay, half my body weight in ounces of water every day.
Mhm,
And,
mhm,
I chug 20 ounces of water first thing I wake up, and the rest of it is slow sips throughout the day. Right. So, and that's what works for me. So, I often say I like to crowd out what I don't want with what I
right,
do want.
right,
So that's the reason half my plate is some kind of vegetable situation, non-starchy
mm,
vegetable, just to help keep me satiated,
yeah,
and filled with all the vitamins and minerals and good things. Crowd out what you don't want with what you do want. I still have whatever else is on the plate is on the plate, but at least half of it is, something I'm choosing. So I'm crowding out what I don't want with what I do want, making sure I get those things in. So as we're hanging out, think of like what's one area that we could
Yeah.
focus on for the next week until we're back here. And maybe we'll keep checking in on this throughout October and November and December and like just buddy up with each other through the holidays. So, and I never thought of it through February 14th. So we could buddy up in that way, just keep checking in. So,
For
what's
me,
something?
it's going to, oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I was going to say,
no,
for me,
please.
it's consistency. It's
Hmm.
really consistency. And I am now doing the 12 and 12. It's a part of the intermittent fasting, which I called my mindful eating window. And you eat, you fast for 12 hours. You can eat within the 12 hours. Um, but I don't like to really snack before I go to bed. I don't, and that doesn't, but I'm addicted to, oh, let me go have my little chocolate, my little piece of chocolate, or my couple of nuts or whatever before I lay down and go to bed. And I want to be more consistent around having that window that 8 o'clock, I'm done, or 9 o'clock, I'm done. And that is what, 9 o'clock, boom, the kitchen is closed, I used to say. For me to be a little bit more consistent with that practice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. And I would be, honored and happy to help be an accountability partner for you in that. That's really
Absolutely.
powerful. And it reminds me of how easily we humans get into habits and the fact that we can change those habits. I remember for years, I had this practice at the end of the night. I'd go upstairs, watch TV with my husband, and I would eat two cookies, two chocolate chip cookies. And I had hot tea and I loved it. It was my favorite thing. Right.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then I reached a point where I decided I was going to change that. And so at first, I still wanted that nighttime something. So we would have fruit and nuts, and then it
Mm,
became just fruit. And now kitchen's closed at, I usually don't eat anything after pretty early. So, but for me, it was a whole process
yeah,
from what I thought I could never change. Like it never seemed conceivable to me that I wouldn't have my two chocolate chip cookies before bedtime. And I'm just giving an example because for somebody else, that might be the perfect thing for you. What we're talking
right.
about is, as you're doing your own check-in, what's something that you want to change? Like
Mm,
what is something that could use an up leveling? And I'm trying to think that through right now. What could use an up leveling? Um, like an extra zhuzh. Like I'm kind of on my game in a lot of areas right now.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think staying really consistent with the protein is good for me. But I think what I'd like to focus on for this next week is when I'm in the gym, to
yeah.
be in the gym, like to
Oh,
really give it like more of my
love
energy.
that.
I'm doing better. There was a period of time where I would be in the gym, technically speaking, and I would get so much social media done.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be sitting
Oh,
there
yeah.
barely pedaling or barely walking on a treadmill because I'm busy. I'm like on
Yeah,
Instagram. So I
yeah.
think this week what I'm going to show up doing, this has been my intention for a couple of weeks now, but I'm going to keep ramping it up, is when I am working out to be very mindful. So we could talk about mindfulness in eating, and I want to talk about mindfulness in working the body. That's going to be my
Mm.
meaningful stretch this week. That feels really
And
good to me.
you've inspired me about the water. And you know what I love about that practice is that you're getting a great amount of water in your body that will allow you not to go through the day dehydrated.
Yeah.
And for me, I have been, oh, I wait till I get to the gym. If I'm teaching a class, I teach 6 a.m. classes, and I get to the gym and I'll drink a little bit of water, and then I'll go teach another class and I'll drink a little bit more water, and then I'm still going through the day of dehydrated. I'm still dehydrated because I've worked out, I've moved, and I drink while I'm moving, and it takes me almost to about 12 noon that my body's really feeling hydrated. That's a little bit of a shift that I'm going to begin. I've now removed most of the time. There's sometimes a cup of coffee is beautiful, but I've removed coffee out and I'm drinking green tea. That was
Hmm.
a really gradual shift. What I love what you gave us was that gradual shift from from those two cookies to fruit to
To
nuts and
fruit
fruits.
and nuts,
I love that.
and
And
to
then you
fruit.
went to fruit. I love that gradual shift. It's not a one and done overnight, a ta-da, ta-da,
Yeah, and I don't even think about it now. Like that's why I'm saying it's kind of we humans are miraculous in our ability to shift things when we want. Because it
Yeah.
went from something that I couldn't even fathom doing to something that I don't even think about anymore. Liz is in the house.
Hey,
Have you heard
Liz.
about this hydrogen water craze? Is it a real thing? I have heard about it. My thing is, I don't know a whole lot about it. My thing is fresh, clear, pure water. Like you want to make sure your water is really
Yeah.
purified and clean. But you
Yeah.
just reminded me that. Maybe I'll check into that.
Hey, y'all, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're having this rich conversation about the body temple, taking care of the body, things that are working, things that we know that we can up level. And yeah, so stay tuned and get some comments ready. When we come back, we want to hear from y'all as well. So let's just take this little break and we will be right back.
Are you passionate about media, storytelling, and making a difference? Welcome to New Thought Media Network, where your voice matters. We amplify diverse voices and share impactful stories. Join us in our mission. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to creativity and community, looking for enthusiastic volunteers who want to be part of something bigger, learn, grow, and collaborate in various aspects of media production. Incredible support and camaraderie await you here. Your contributions will help us create powerful content that resonates with audiences and drives social change.
Ready to make a difference? Visit our website www.ntmedia.org to learn more about volunteer opportunities and how you can get involved.
Find our volunteer inquiry under the Engage tab on our website, or visit www.ntmedia.org/volunteer. We look forward to connecting with you soon.
New Thought Media Network proudly presents the High Vibe Hour. The High Vibe Hour, 60 minutes of connections, insights, and conversations to raise your vibe. Join Rev Julie and Rev Skip each week for an exploration of living a high vibe life. Tune in live every Friday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time or anytime during the week on our YouTube channel. The High Vibe Hour, only on New Thought Media Network.
Hey, y'all, welcome back. And we are here at the New Thought Media Network on the High Vibe Hour. And we're talking about taking care of the body temple, which is one of my favorite things in the whole entire world to teach and to do. And yeah, we're having this rich conversation.
Absolutely. So just as a recap, let's take a minute and do an inventory and see what is working well in your, and let's do physical and emotional
Yeah.
slash spiritual. So what's working well in your, whether it's with your diet, whether it's with getting some stretching in, some strength training, some cardio, some fitness, what's working well in the area of your spiritual practice or your emotional health, and just kind of clock that in and be grateful for it. Like be
Yeah.
so grateful that you are giving yourself that, whatever it is. So just take a breath and really consider like what's working well.
Yeah.
What's happening that's working well right now. In both the physical, in the emotional, in the spiritual, what's working well, and then become aware what's ready for an upgrade, like what's ready for a stretch right now. Like I went, when I went from the chocolate chip cookies and I went to the nuts and fruit, and then I was like, okay, I'm ready for another stretch. And then it was like, well, let me try just fruit.
Yeah.
So what's ready? What's an area that's ready for a stretch,
Mm.
and think about what that might be. I gave the example of I'm getting to the gym, but sometimes I'm like phoning it in, right?
Yeah.
And so
Hmm.
to be more present, to really show up and be like, okay, this is my period of time. I'm 100% here. Like
Yeah.
I'm really present with every movement. So that's my meaningful stretch for the week in the physical area. And
Yeah.
then what's ready for a stretch in the spiritual area, in
Ooh.
your emotional mental health area.
And I think too another follow up to that is we're talking about maybe taking time away from the foods that we're eating, or and mind you, if you're starting to do any type of fasting or any type of mindful window eating, please check in with your doctor first. And this is, we're only giving our experience first. I always tell my clients this, my students this in the gym, and they always ask, what are you doing, what can I do? I said, whatever you decide to do, make sure you're checking in with your health professional. The other thing too is that we had a conversation about is a detox from the screen. And here we
Mm.
are on social media right now. We're on YouTube right now. You're in front of your screen. You're getting the
Maybe it's the type of
information.
screen,
Maybe it is.
maybe
Maybe
that's
it is.
maybe that's part of it. Because on my social media right now,
Yeah.
like the things that pop up for me for the
Yeah.
most part
Yeah.
are so inspiring and motivating. Like I'm that's who I follow. That's like what's coming into my consciousness. And also there's a time to just turn it off
Yeah.
to get quiet.
It's so funny because I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who we travel to different music festivals because that's part of what I love to do. I love a great music festival, and we travel. And we're making a comment of the last couple of music festivals that we went to, how this new thing that's happening now with a lot of the kids are taking and watching it through their phones, and they're in a live event looking at through the phone. I'm like, y'all, it's not in your phone, it's up there. And
Yeah.
so maybe how we're using the screen is very important. And the other movement, have you heard about, it's something that our youth is doing right now, where they'll have something playing on the TV, but they're on the screen on their phone. Do you know about
Yeah.
this?
Lots of
Yeah,
screens going. Yep.
lots of I'm like, how do y'all do? I can barely concentrate on one thing, and you're
Mhm.
here and you're watching and I'm like, wow, multiple screen experiences.
Yeah, I think you just saying that like exhausted me and makes me feel how important it is to do a screen fast, whether it's
Yeah.
5 minutes a day, and you just sit in the silence to allow ourselves to be bored again, because it's
Mhm.
from boredom. And not, I don't mean bored like scrolling, I mean bored with no screen, because it's
Mhm.
from boredom that creativity and inspiration and thoughts and ideas bubble up. So I really love that idea. And maybe that could be, I was the third piece I was going to go into, like we do an inventory, what's working well. And Liz Murphy Wool, I want to call you out because you said nothing is good physically. And I really appreciate what you're saying. I definitely appreciate you've shared before. I get it. And to switch things up, the invitation, beloved, is to find one thing physically
Mm.
that is working. I'm assuming that you are breathing right now. My
Hey, I was just thinking about
assumption
that.
is that breath is happening. Because, and the reason why I'm doing this, Liz, and I'm fully honoring what you're sharing. I get it because you've shared it before. I fully understand that. The way to begin to shift things up, and I'm so glad you're enjoying working with Reverend Carlton. The way to shift it up is to start by noticing what is working and
Mhm.
have appreciation for that. Gratitude grows. It will begin to wash into other areas. So, for all of us, because I know what it is to think, well, like this sucks and everything sucks, to like get into that headspace. And at times it really feels that way. And we have a lot of things maybe at different points that are not working. But the way you switch that is notice at least one thing. I'm breathing. I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
my heart is beating,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be grateful for that, period. And then let that gratitude grow. So that's a message for all of us. That's something we can all use. So there's to take an inventory, to notice what area wants to be up leveled, and then to see, like, okay, is there something that it's time to release? Is there something that it's time to take a break from or a fast from? And to Rev Skip's point, man, to take a screen break, even if it's 5 minutes, to sit in silence with no agenda, to breathe. Like I would even maybe not have music, just to be quiet without stimulation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because I feel like that lets us decompress enough that we can open up to, as Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith says, incline my ear and hear the word of God,
Mhm.
right? See
Mhm.
what's ready to bubble up now.
What I've learned, and again, one of our great texts says, "Be still and know." There's a lot of avatars that will teach us as teachers, be still and know. Be still
Yeah.
and know what? Be still and know that I'm alive. Be still and know that I'm God. Be still and know that I am love. Be still and know. It is in the stillness and the quietude that Howard Thurman talks about, the quiet room, where we shall really be revealed to our connection with spirit. So part of this invitation to do time out from the screen, but to embrace time into yourself is so incredibly important. It is that time where I am very, very clear, especially when I sit down to meditate. What is my intention? And why am I meditating? And what am I here to bring forth? What is seeking to come up through me? It's hard to do this when I have a lot of a distraction. And mind you, I love a good guided meditation. I listen to The Way of Meditation over and over again, guided meditation, Achille Beckwith, Michael Beckwith. I also listen to Insight Timer. It helps me to stay focused, but there's also times where the stillness drops in, where there isn't Michael speaking or Achille Beckwith speaking or the teacher. There's room for you to really have this deep contemplation. And I love the fact that we do have multiple ways that we can shut off the screen and just go and be. How about the beach? You said that earlier, and it's like, yeah, spend time on the beach. How about in the garden, outside, in a park? Just stop, and we don't have to be on the screen all the time. And then when we come back to the screen, we're coming back with purpose.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So I like, as friends hanging out, let's
Yeah.
take a moment and think, is there something that I want to release, like for
Mm.
this week, or if it's that rough, for today or for the next hour? Like, one of the things, I think I shared this here recently. I Something happened when, after I used to be a very positive, always saw the bright side of everything naturally kind of person. And then I had my son, and something changed in me, and I can spot where all the danger lies. Like,
Right.
I see where danger can be. And so one of the things that I am going to focus on releasing this week is um uh just, if I think of something negative, I'm going to switch it up and think of something else positive, like a ratio. So every time I think of a negative thing or a danger thing, I'm going to think of something positive, not one to one. If I see something that looks
Yeah.
potentially dangerous, but just I'm really cultivating my consciousness and cultivating my neural thought patterns,
Yeah.
so that I'm breaking the habit of just focusing on what maybe isn't right or could be potentially dangerous or whatever. I'm continuing to grow the part that trusts and has faith and sees the good. I hope that
Yeah.
makes sense.
It does make sense. I love that. That really makes sense. What comes up for me that I'm going to release this week, and just for the week, I'm going to see how it works. CNN, which is also known for constantly negative news, CNN has this thing that comes up every morning. It's 5 things you need to know to get your day going. 5 things, 5 minutes of the news. 90% of it is not high vibration. It's not a high vibe. It is like, oh, okay. But I'm like, I always mask it with, oh, well, it's quick. I'm getting it quick. Then I know what to pray for, and then boom. So I normally do that not in the beginning of the day. I do this at the end of the day. So I'm not beginning with the negative news, but I do want to know what to pray for. The other thing that I do is I'm laughing at myself because
So
I
are you
love
letting
it.
that go? Are you letting that go
Just for
this week?
this week. I'm letting it go
Okay.
for this week because that's my screen, and I have my Apple TV, so I watch it through that. The other thing that I'm letting go of just for this week, I'll come back to it. There is this incredible funny news program called Have I Got News for You? And these comedians make so much fun of what's going on in the negative side of politics.
Mhm.
And I realized too, as you were saying that, that's my Sunday jam. It comes on Sunday night. I'm heading after church. I'm gonna watch that Sunday night, and boom. I realized too that the saying is that you can put lipstick on a pig.
Uh-huh.
It's still a pig.
Yeah.
So you can mask it, you can have fun with it, but you're still thinking about that lower vibrational frequency.
Uh-huh.
And then part of this is really understanding how do we balance out, because we need to know what's going on, and also know that I will know what I need to know without having a consistent screen time. That it's my appointment TV. I say I'm going to
Yeah.
watch this on a Sunday. So where can I not make this appointment TV and really just allow me get the news that I need to know?
Nice. Nice. Okay. I
That's
can't
it.
wait to check back and see how that works for you. I
Me
can't wait to
too.
see how that works for you.
Me too. Me too. Me too.
Yeah, so let's check in for
Yeah.
all of us. Like, is there something that you want to play around with releasing this week or today or for the next
Mhm.
hour? And you could share that here in the chat, or if you're watching this at a different time, you could share it on our social medias, just if you
Absolutely.
want some accountability. Um, so, what might be something to release? And is there something in the area of food that you might want to release this week?
Yeah. And it's so interesting. You're saying this. It brings me back to Michael's talk, Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith at the Agape International Spiritual Center. Those who don't know, Sunday morning, his talk was so amazing. And he was asking people to give up this negative, and he says, okay, for a whole week. And he says, well, I know some of y'all are addicted, so how about we just give it up for the next hour? And I know some of y'all are addicted, so how would we just do the next 30 minutes? It was so, and I was laughing, but there was truth in that, because we say, okay,
Yeah.
for a week, oh, okay, and maybe it's not the week, maybe it's you were there, it was great how he
Yeah.
broke that down to, how about just 1 hour? How about just 1
Yeah. And then let's check back next Friday and see how it works for you, you know?
Absolutely.
So, So it could be, stepping out of news or stepping off of
Yeah.
screens a little bit more, or, not participating in gossip. Like what's
That's a
something
good
that
one.
you would be, yeah, what's something you would be willing to, and I keep having the thought that that comedy news show, in a way, it feels like gossip to me. Like
It
it,
is. It
you
is.
know? So it's delicious tea, it's delicious
Right.
gossip, but I get
Exactly.
your point, like, "Oh, let me see what it'd be like to fast from that." So,
Hmm.
to think of what, and we always talk about manageable, doable, like
Manageable,
little
doable.
baby steps, and then crowding out what you don't want with what you do want. So if you're not doing whatever it is you're gonna decide not to do, can you plug in something that you will do instead? So if you're not gossiping, and that's something that you normally enjoy doing, especially with certain relationships. Like my best friend
Mm.
from third grade, that's how we would bond. We'd get on the phone and we would just go through everybody we know. and like
Mm.
just catch up on everybody, but it was kind of gossip. And so I realized when I started changing that, like we didn't really have much to talk about. So there's a process to no, for real. It was like, oh wow, that was like what
Oh,
that was our interactions. So what will
right.
you fill it with? And if there's certain negative thoughts you have
Mm.
about somebody or something or some government or some president or
Mhm.
whatever it is, can you do like what Rev Skip said? He's getting the news for a prayer request. Can
Yeah.
you, instead of not doing something, can you decide to start, maybe think a good thought about it or them,
Mm.
whatever it is? And for some
I
people, that might be too big a stretch, but so maybe you think a good thought about somebody else, just like
mm,
shift energy, shift energy. That's the invitation.
mm. I'm looking at this Creative Roots, Portugal.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. It says releasing gossip about me and the project and building the vision, one foot in front of the other. That's powerful. That's really
Yeah.
powerful. One of the things also that I would love to share with people, we're talking about manageable, doable, which I'm going to use that in my next talk, I'm sure. Manageable, doable, things are manageable, doable. One thing is manageable and doable in your eating practice. I created something for my clients, and I talk about in my next book that's coming out, Transform in 10 Steps for Thriving at 50 and Beyond. And I call it the ABCs of eating, mindful eating. The ABCs of mindful eating, the amount, A stands for the amount, B is balance, and C is connection. And so we get to really understand the amount is always important, the amount that you're going to eat. So maybe this week you're looking at how much you're putting into your body. There's only, and I learned this from Deepak Chopra, there is only one reason to truly be eating is to fuel your body so that you can continue to do the universe's work or God's work, however you want to put it. You are on purpose with the purpose. So to do that work, we must fuel the body. But are we eating for other reasons? So the amount should be enough where you feel not always full, but you feel like you've had a substantial amount of food in your body. I'm more of a grazer. I like having small little meals, and it works for some people. Some people it doesn't work. And there is this measurement in your hand where you can realize that the big part of your meal here should not be it should not be the carbohydrates and the protein. This should be the green leafy, should be a pile here. If you're looking at measurements, should be the leafy green vegetable should be in the palm of your hand. If you're using protein should be even half of your hand of should be protein. And then, like if you use peanut butter, maybe a thumbprint of your peanut butter. Carbohydrates should not be as much as we think it is, because a lot of us are I call it carbitarians, where we love to carbo up. Unless you're running a marathon, there's no reason for you to carbo up. So if we look at the amount that we're eating, there could be a little bit of shift about what you're putting in. Balance for me is having more plant-based, having more foods that love me back. That creates balance within and balance out. The last one is and this is the one I had to learn from the pandemic, connection. Why am I eating, and what does the body really want? In the pandemic, I found myself just mindlessly opening up the door and grabbing whatever I wanted. Just eat. And I was like, because right next here, I'm in the living room where my studio is. On the left-hand side is the refrigerator. And so I would just mindfully get up here, go over in the kitchen, grab it, come back and eat. I would be eating all day long.
Yeah.
So connection, why are you eating and what do you really want? Sometimes we eat because we're happy. Sometimes we eat because we're bored. But if we're eating for the reason of fueling the body, and what does the body really want?
Yes, I know we're getting close. I can't
Yeah,
believe
yeah,
it's
no
almost
worries.
the hour. I wanted to just jump in because we have a
Yeah,
couple folks that are like, "What about
yeah.
my fried dough? What about my cheesy? It's Halloween." Here's the thing.
Mhm.
Yes, I understand Deepak Chopra, eat to fuel the body, 100%.
Yeah.
And we also eat sometimes, like there are memories, like somebody was talking about, like my inner child. There are memories, there are things, and we want to have the deliciousness. So maybe have the deliciousness, maybe be a bit more mindful about the portion size. So maybe it doesn't have to be the portion you ate when you were 8 years old. And then also make a plan with yourself, if this works for you, to be like, okay, then on the next meal or tomorrow, I'm going to double up on, the water, crowd out what
Yeah.
you do want to help clean the system out. I'm going to double up on my dark leafy greens. I'm going to double up on, I'm going to reduce something. So you balance it out. Yes, you are here in life. Enjoy it, savor it, but work with yourself. So it's not a free for all and
Yeah.
doesn't become a free for all.
I love it. I
Right?
love it.
Right,
Where
Liz
did
Murphy? Oh, with your fried dough.
I
What
go
bites
ahead
it
with your
do?
fried dough? Go ahead. But
But then
I
the
am
counterbalance. Yes.
I'm always surprised that this time just flies by very quickly.
I
What's your
know.
what's your takeaway from this conversation that we're having today, Rev?
My takeaway is how important it is to have these conversations, not once, not twice,
Mm,
but regularly. And I really like the idea of continuing to check in on how am I doing, what's working, what wants an upgrade, and what feels like it would be helpful to be released. So I would love, if folks are resonating with this, I would love to keep having a portion of check-in, especially as we move through the holidays, just so we're
absolutely.
mindful. Mindful.
Yes. And mine is very much similar to that. So I'm just going to piggyback off of you. Um, an accountability partner. And normally
Yes.
I've been the teacher, I've been the fitness, the yoga, the person who's teaching everybody how to do it and not having an accountability partner. And I believe that, well, you're now my accountability partner. We're going to be checking in this week together. And just a little text. And your accountability partner doesn't have to be a long dissertation in your text to say, I'm checking in with you. Guess what? I have my water today. It can be
Yeah.
very simple. So accountability partner, yes.
Yes, and as you're listening to this, you can go on either of our pages and just
Yes.
post on one of our posts and just give us your updates so we can stay accountable with you. Don't do a DM, just do it on, like, I did an advertisement for this podcast, so you could put it in there. And you can do the
Absolutely.
same on Rev Skip's page. So we
And
just
so,
keep working with each other throughout the week.
and that's your Instagram. People can reach out to your Instagram.
At Rev Julie Moret, that's the best
There
place
you
to
go.
reach.
That is your Instagram right there. And mine is at Rev Skip Jennings on Instagram. So y'all can reach out to us there. Also, Reverend Julie, people can work with you one-on-one, correct?
I'm not doing a whole lot of one-on-one
Oh,
coaching
okay.
right now,
Yeah,
but if you go to my website at juliemoret.com, I do have classes that I do periodically, and that's a great way that I can let you know when they're happening.
that's great to know. And I do one-on-one coaching, so you can work with me one-on-one. I do group. You can go to my website, skipjennings.com, find out more information how we can be supportive. I can be supportive for your journey. And I always want to tell people, hey, Bali is still calling. We have 8 spots left. If you want to go to Bali with me in March, DM me, go directly to my website, reach out and say, I just want more information. I can give you more information about that. I want to say, though, at the end of October, our 5 months payment plan is going to shift to a 3 months because we're getting very close to it. So if you want to jump on that 5-month payment plan, we make it doable for you. Once again, like I love you. I love hanging out with you. I love being with you. This is so
Fun. It
awesome.
goes by
Great.
so fast.
It goes by so fast. All right, y'all. So please leave a message, comment, whatever you do, just to know that we're connecting. Please do that. That's it. We're out.
All right. See you next week.
See you next week, y'all. Peace and blessings.